Creepypastas are something that's been on the internet for as long as I can remember, and I especially remember seeing some Roblox related ones. I personally have never actually went onto the Roblox Creepypasta wiki, and I thought it could be fun to look at it years later and see what the current stories being made are like. As I went onto recently posted pastas, I didn't think I was looking in the right place, since the last one was from April 28th and barely any were written. As I kept looking, it was hard to find stories that weren't bland and full of cliches. The daily average of Roblox players is between 57 million through 113 million, so I had a really hard time believing that nothing was written in 8 months. That is, until I had the thought that maybe people just aren't interested anymore, and that's the part where I started to wonder why. Before we get into the Roblox Creepypasta explanation, I am trying to get to 1,000 subs before the end of the year, and I would really appreciate it if you would consider subbing. I also will be hosting a $300 worth of Roblox tournament on my Twitch on December 28th. If you're interested, the description will have a link to the Discord where you can get more info. Hope to see you there! Before we talk about the death of this art, I feel like we have to start with some of the most popular stories that brought the genre to life. When I think of Roblox creepypastas, the notable ones are Jane and John Doe, Guest 666, 1NN4, 1X1X1X1, and I'll give a brief explanation on each of these creepypastas. John and Jane Doe were bot accounts that were used as NPCs by Roblox and had not been logged in since 2006. The rumors behind the account that sparked the creepypasta is that even though the accounts have not been used in all this time, both accounts had game passes that were created in 2012, 6 years later, and had accepted friend requests from 2008. This led to people believing that the accounts have been hacked into, and it became a popular rumor spread by YouTubers that popular games will have been getting hacked by them, and mass panic followed. Roblox would later clear up this rumor, but this was their story. Guest 666 was a rumor that had been around since the creation of Noobs in 2008. His origin was basically that he was the 666 guest and that he was just evil. It was mostly popularized through the YouTuber Oblivious HD and a 2-part series explaining his lore, like the fact that he can talk in admin controls and talk in games, which is nothing the regular guest can do. Ever since the removal of guests though inside of 2017, this legend has really died since it's impossible for them to exist. 1NN4 is probably the creepypasta you may have played on Roblox. This game will be played in the background. The short story of this game is that a user named 1NN4, or Annie, made friends with the main character of the story. They then started playing and were normal until they acted weird, but they still kept talking. 1NN4 then asked the main character if they'd like to go to their place, which they replied yes to. Once there, inside the house, 1NN4 basically just burns to death inside of a fire, smiling at the main character. I know it's a little silly sounding, but that's basically the story, and a lot of people are afraid from this. The last creepypasta to explain is 1X1X1. Like Jane Doe and John Doe, they were believed to be a hacker, but started off as a test account. Their story is basically the same as John and Jane Doe, except that it's way more famous. This can be seen especially inside of the Roblox Classic event, where many games use 1X1X as a boss like Blade Ball, and even the Classic event itself as the final boss. The reason I brought all these up is simply because each is famous for a different factor, but it relates to the era in a unique way. Jane and John Doe and 1X1X showed the fear of hackers in the early days of the internet. 1X1X is the biggest showcase of this due to how popular he really became, and even kind of canon due to Roblox. Guest 666 showed the fear of not knowing who's really behind the screen, and of course the number 666. Anyone could be Guest 666, but this one had some divine power or something. 1NN4 showed the fear of going into random games you've never seen before, and what random scary things could happen inside of them. I just thought understanding what factors actually made people afraid could help determine why these new ones are failing, and I feel like it certainly does show. The early success of all of these creepypastas had to do with things that we could relate to, especially since Roblox as a platform was kind of new. People had no idea how secure the platform was, including hackers, games, and accounts, which every story took advantage of perfectly. The newer creepypastas now are mostly having to do with entities, probably due to how popular the backrooms and doors got, which a lot of the stories feel like they're inspired of. The problem with these stories is that entities aren't really something most people can relate to, since obviously we have none of these creatures. The backrooms concept originally worked since it was a place of abandonment that people could randomly come across instead of monsters that you need to survive in, which takes away from how realistic it actually could become. The creepypasta stories just fail to set a tone of something believable and just want to be the next viral monster story. This sentence from a recent story sums up the problem perfectly. I feel like the next era of creepypastas of Roblox, if they were to return, would have to do with something realistic, like hacked experiences, since that's something that's a real issue. The backroomization of the creepypastas really caused the quality to go downhill, and the transitions from what is believable to not, it just feels like it really killed it. I do think it's possible for the genre to come back to life, but the old environment of early internet is something that needs to be left behind, since even the original stories I brought up wouldn't work today. People now know how security works from Roblox, and I know hackers don't really have as much power as they did in those stories. Along with guests just kind of being gone, I don't think there's any way people would believe these stories in current day. If you enjoyed this video and learning about creepypastas, I'm just saying I think you should sub. Thanks for watching, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!